This time on Finnegan's Garage, it's a special episode about the dumpster fire Daytona because we are converting it from automatic transmission, which was Bluetooth because it never had one, to stick shift right here, right now. Isn't she a beaut? Good morning.
You're late to your first day of work, buddy.
I know. You came all the way from California and you're still here on time. Yes, I only had to walk downstairs and I'm late. I blame the dogs.
I got everything but the axle.
Yeah, that's kind of heavy.
Our water bottle stayed there the whole trip.
Ah, dude, that's the U-Haul quality right there.
That's the quality of the ride.
Best riding trailer
your
ever.
Trailer properly. It's not 80-20, 60-40. It's put 80 at the rear, maybe 20% at the front. Runs great, up about 50 miles an hour.
Everybody meet Joe Cole. One of my oldest, favoriteest people on the planet. He just moved here from SoCal all the way to Georgia to come work with me. Don't leave me hanging.
Yes.
We're going to have some fun.
It's going to be some fun times.
We're going to have some fun. Let's show them what we got working with here. What we have here in the driveway is the Pro Street Fake Daytona Starter Kit. These are, these are the wheels and tires off the back of the rubber duck. That's the engine out of Death Metal. That's the trans out of Blasphemi. And then inside the garage is one of the rustiest chargers I've ever had or seen. And I bought this at Roadkill Nights last year, hauled it home on the ramp truck. It has sat ever since. And we're going back to Roadkill Nights with this. In fact, a week from now, the Roadkill Crew will be here to film an episode of putting this thing together and making it run. But before that can happen, we got a lot of work to do because there's no way the Roadkill Crew makes this run in 5 days. That's how many days we get to make the episode. And so Joe and I are going to do a bunch of work here. It's going to work. It's going to be great. This thing is a sweet piece, let me tell you. Yes, it is as rusty as it looks. There's not a lot holding that together. And I don't... Okay, so let's be clear, everybody at home. This is not a real Daytona. Not at all. Like, that giveaway is it doesn't have the aero back window, the flush glass. I don't know if that wing is a real part. I don't know. Probably not. I doubt this nose is, official.
Come on, the headlight covers the grill.
I mean, I don't know that any of this is official. But when you go down the road from 20 yards, people break their necks to look at this thing because they're like, oh my God, that's a really, really expensive car. That, ironically, did you know back in the day, ironically, nobody wanted these? These sat on dealer lots. They couldn't give them away.
Ugly.
They were ugly, and now, for whatever reason, because all Chargers pretty much look the same, this is appealing to me. I love the way this looks, and I have no intentions of restoring it. I just intend to make it run and drive and probably cut out the second worst roll cage I've ever had.
Second? What was the first?
Oh, Death Metal Charger has the worst roll cage ever. Oh. That's the water pipe one. That one's horrible, but this one is 1.5 inch mild steel.
It's not even welded all the way.
Yeah, it's not actually welded at all. Like, there's some popcorn right here that allegedly is holding that. But yeah, it's not welded. Nor is the tubing probably legal for any sanctioned racing. So when I first got it, I'm like, oh, I'll just cut the front off because somebody already started to do that, and I'll leave the bar. But the bar is so bad, I think I'm just going to cut the whole thing out.
I don't even think they'll let you run this on a go-kart track.
I mean, maybe in Tennessee, and hey, I love you, Tennessee. I'm not saying, anything. I'm just saying your rules, they're a little loose there, fast and loose. But yeah, she's rusty. In fact, that's
I love this.
That's all that's holding the wing on. It's a little sandwich.
Vacuum plate.
Yeah.
Does the trunk even open?
It does, with a screwdriver. And then you'll see the ground.
See the ground?
Yeah. Yeah, it's tubbed for giant wheels, which is why the rubber duck wheels are perfect for it. It's good and it's bad. Let's get to work. This is a fairly standard big block Mopar with Edelbrock cylinder heads. Not a lot of compression. It's not a race motor. It's a good street motor. I think when we dynoed it at KSR, it made 350 at the tires. You know, it's a good street motor. It is. It was set up for a stick shift in the death metal. It had a T56 Tremec trans, and so we have the wrong clutch, the wrong flywheel, and more importantly, the wrong pilot bearing in the back of that crankshaft. So all that's going to have to get changed. We have the transmission out of Blasphemi. Not the original one, because that was a T56. I gave that to my friend Brandon for his C10 build. This is the GForce that was in the car when Tony Angelo and I won Hot Rod Drag Week in 2019. This is a 5-speed clutch-assisted manual gearbox. What does that mean? That means you take off using the clutch in first gear, and after that, you can just bang shift this thing. Not an amazing street transmission. You know, it is not synchronized, so you're double clutching with every gear change on the street, and it's loud and it's noisy, and you don't have overdrive. Fifth gear is 1-to-1. I just said a lot of reasons why you shouldn't use this, except I own it, I have it, and it probably won't break. So it's the right transmission for our project. The last thing we have are new parts from McCleod and Silversport Transmissions. We have a McCleod clutch, McCleod pressure plate, McCleod flywheel, and then we have a complete kit from Silversport to turn this automatic car into a stick shift car. So we're going to be putting pedals in it, we're going to be modifying the trans tunnel, all this stuff in the name of getting this big block Mopar mated to that GForce gearbox and then stuck in that rusty fake Dodge Daytona. So, step one, open the boxes, because if we don't have everything to do the job, then what's the point, right? And then step two is to remove all the old parts and figure out an ingenious solution for getting that pilot bearing out, because this has the wrong diameter. This particular GForce, and Joe, if you come over here and show these folks, this has the old school big input shaft that Mopar used to use. This is a 18 spline, big old input shaft. That pilot bearing over there is set up for a late model T56, which is a 26 spline. Like most everything these days is 26 spline. This is 18. So this is not going to work with our old clutch. This is not going to work with our old throwout bearing, our bushing, none of that stuff. Oh, there we go. All right, so this is our clutch master cylinder. This will bolt to the firewall. Silversport includes this nifty angled billet block to mount it to the firewall, so that you don't have to customize anything. That's really the genius of the Silversport stuff, is that they have everything to convert your muscle car from automatic to stiff. These are adjustable dowels. These go in the back of the block, and you can rotate them, and as you rotate them, they'll move the bell housing in a circle so that you can dial indicate it and get it perfectly centered on the crankshaft. If you do that, the shifter works awesome. If you don't do that, you'll be wondering why your transmission bangs going into first gear and doesn't want to shift all that well. So it's important to do that. I know a lot of people like to skip that step. I do not, because I like smooth shifts. Okay, here's a reservoir for the clutch master cylinder, mounting plate, fluid. This feels like a flywheel from McCleod. There we go. There's our alignment tool, very nice. Here, this is our throwout bearing. Yep. There's our pressure plate. And there's our clutch. Alright, single disc. This is going to be great on the street. I guarantee we're going to have to break it in. I don't know what material it is, but I'm sure we're going to have to break it in. We'll read about that later. Still don't see our bearing. Ooh, alright, here's a hydraulic throwout bearing. That was what I was looking for. Since we had a master cylinder, I assumed we were using a hydraulic one. And there we go. These are great because they're very smooth, and when you drive around with one of these deals, it feels like a stock clutch most of the time. Like the one in Blasphemi is a triple disc, and it's not hard on your leg at all, which is nice when you're stuck in traffic. Okay, I still haven't seen the bearing.
No pilot bearing.
Not yet, unless it's hiding. I might have to go to the parts store, or see if I have one hiding at the other shop for Blasphemi, because it's the same thing. Hi, Joe. We don't have a pilot bearing, but parts store will have it at noon.
Okay.
What should we do now?
I say we get the garbage or very valuable parts out of this out so we can actually work inside. I know the glass is very valuable, and it's amazingly all the way from Roadkill Night, sitting in his car for a year on a roll bar, has not broken yet.
Yeah, that is wild.
Right?
I have a really good glass guy, and by really good, I mean he doesn't care, and he'll put the glass in no matter how rusty it is. And so he'll be here in 2 weeks to put the glass in right before we hit the road. So yeah, let's save it as best we can.
Yes.
So the previous owner, the car didn't have a dash, it had a sheet metal dash. He cut the bar here, the A-pillar bar, to put a dash in. Let's try to get this out, because it's just going to be in our way, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh my lord. That is... they sleeved it.
Yeah, they did sleeve it. But they also cut the torsion bar to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
Which is wild. But the frame rails look pretty solid. The shock towers, the firewall, like it's not bad. It could be so much worse. Like Death Metal, way worse. Death Metal's K-member was so bad I replaced it. Like this.
Yeah, this looks pretty decent.
Yeah, this is not
compared to what the rest of the car looks like.
Yeah, she's pretty good. I bought hood hinges, which means the hood can go back on. You know, Dulcich is coming in, so maybe he'll be interested in devising a way to actually attach the nose, you know, with something other than ratchet straps.
If you take the ratchet straps off, does it just fall?
I don't know. I'm afraid to. I don't want it off just yet. I like looking at it because it looks cool, you know, even with ratchet straps.
I like how the original headlight buckets are here still.
The ventilation for the fender, full effect.
That's for brake cooling.
We have the Mopar factory optional rust lightning program. Every year, a car just gets lighter. I mean, compared to a lot of roadkill cars we've had before, not a lot of holes. It's wild. I mean, they're there. Don't get me wrong. Look like rats ate the front of these floorboards, but not a lot of holes in the floor. The back of the car is a disaster, though. Ooh, let's open the trunk. You got to see this.
All right, let's get a screwdriver.
We need a
How big a screwdriver do I need?
Because this car was pro-streeted. I think somebody made it to Cruise Fairgrounds, and when they did that, they didn't bother to really attach the trunk lid, but they also didn't bother to put a floor in it, which is lightweight. It's high speed, sure. But the quarters, you know, which are real rusty, are not attached to the wheel tubs. The rear frame section is so narrow that you're really limited on fuel cell.
Custom shackle spacers.
Hey, dude, it's
what is that, about 10 flat washers?
It's
per side?
It's custom. It's definitely custom. And the things that I'm most excited about are the fact that the original taillights are in here.
Those are sick taillights.
Yeah, the taillights are here and the wing is here, which are items that are hard to find. You know, they are. And we won't fix a lot of what's wrong with this car. We'll just make it run and drive and have an adventure. That's all that I care about, really. There's all these things that you should fix before you even do anything that we're about to do. We're not doing that. We don't have the time for that.
We're not fixing anything.
Yeah.
We're throwing a motor trans in it and sending it.
Right. I'm going to devise a better way to make sure my wing doesn't fall off, you know, on the highway. But I'm not going to replace the quarter panel like I should be.
No.
Ain't nobody got time for that. But right now what I need to do, because, again, the Roadkill Crew will be here next week, is I need to measure for a fuel cell, figure out what I can fit in there. And it's going to be small. And then we need to measure for a radiator and fans, because those are the two big items I don't have here. We have seats, we have a rear end, we have a motor, we have a trans, we have a lot of things, but some of the bigger things like radiator, fuel cell, we do not have. All right, we're back from lunch. Found a pilot bearing at my local O'Reilly's, which is nice. So we got that. We're going to replace it. First, I'm going to take the flywheel off. Then I'm going to show you a unique way to get out the old pilot bearing. Woo. There we go. Okay, so they make specialized tools for removing these things. I don't have them, so I'm raiding my wife's pantry. And I'm going to grab wifey's buns. use those to get the bushing out. And in lieu of hot dog buns, I'm a big fan of Irish Spring bar soap. That works good. Grease. Grease is actually probably the best because it doesn't really compress, but it's also the messiest cleanup. Whereas this here, when we're all done, we just put some compressed air in there, blow out the bun, and we're fine. So the way this works is we're filling the cavity in the back of the crankshaft behind the bearing with the bread. Then I'm going to drive the bread in and continue to keep putting bread in it until the cavity is completely full. And as you're driving this in, it's going to push the bearing out because physics. Okay, so we put some bread in and drive it in, pack it in, keep going. This usually takes about 3 to 4 hot dog buns or a third of a bar of Irish Spring. You want a tight fit. You don't want the whole hot dog down a hallway effect. So, just any old bolt or rod is not going to do the job. It's got to fit tight in there. Fill the gap. We're starting to get to the point where there's some resistance there. That's good. That means pretty soon this bearing is going to come out. Ooh, starting to move. See that? Okay, put some more bread in there. Go again. That's not part of the process. Boom! Look at that. As if by magic, the bearing is out.
New bearing. One side's chamfered, which kind of helps you get it in there and get started. It already sits like halfway in. I think that's it.
All right, so now mid plate goes back on, flywheel goes on, then clutch. Always remember the mid plate because when I forget, it sucks. I've done it so many times. Alright, so now what we're going to do is magnetic base, dial indicator. We're going to put this on the bell housing. Then Joe's going to turn the crankshaft while I watch the dial indicator to check the run out, which is how far out of round this is really in relation to the crankshaft. Five thou, 8 thou, 9 thou.
Hang on. See a wind?
Keep going. Alright, keep going, because I know where the high spot was. Alright, hold it right there. 11,000 right here. This is going to be our...
11?
That's going to be our new 0. Alright, so go all the way around to here. I'll 0 it. Alright, there's our new 0. And now we're just going to go 180. And we'll go 180 here to see our total run out. Okay, hold it. Ooh, 5 thou, which is 2.5, which means we don't have to do anything. We're at 6 thou from there. Divide that by 2. That's 3 thousandths off-centered. The spec is 5 thousandths, so we're there. We can just bolt this on. Woohoo! Right. So now bell housing back off, clutch back on, bell housing on. Then we measure our air gap between the fingers of our clutch and our throwout bearing. Dial that in and trans can go on. Nice! I love it when stuff just works. It never happens. I feel like there's something wrong here. For you guys at home, if we found that the run out was excessive, meaning the center of the bell housing was more than 5 thousandths of an inch off center from the crankshaft, Silversport Transmissions sells these offset dowel pins that are really cool. They're engraved at the end, so you know which direction the offset is going to be. And they have a set screw to lock them in place. And they sell them in 3 or 4 different sizes and offsets. And, you know, if you decided the bell housing was too far this way by, you know, 10,000ths of an inch, just buy a set of these, replace your stock dowel pins, put them in place, and it will center the bell housing for you. Like magic. Let's put the bolts in, tighten it, get our measurements for Brian.
Where do you want these, up or down?
They're going to come out this side here, so facing
this way?
This way.
Oh.
There you go. So now what we need to do, let's make sure that's fully compressed, and then measure from here to there. Okay, now hold that flat against there. Subtract an inch from that. So that is 3 inches, 767 thousandths. Now, same thing, come across here, measure to the fingers of the clutch. You want to go to the highest point of the fingers where it's going to touch the bearing. And then, where's my phone? Do a little math here. 4,735 minus 3,767 equals 96. We might not need
anything.
Yeah, let's take the shim out. Basically, we have less than 100 thousandths air gap. We want about 200 thousandths.
Okay.
So let's measure this.
Do this one again.
Do that again. .735 minus 3.6634. Wait, that was the wrong way. Inch. Oh, wait. Oh, God. No, we're going the wrong way.
We need more.
We need more spacers. Hold on. Oh, yeah. We have nearly an inch of air gap, and we need 200 thousandths. And we need a taller piston.
So this whole thing, he's got to send out a whole another piston, right?
Yeah. All right. So we're stuck until we get
that.
Yeah, we need a longer piston. All right, let's recap. Yesterday, we installed our new flywheel, pressure plate, clutch disc from McCleod, QuickTime bell housing that we got from Silversport, and then we were ready to marry the used GF5R that came out of Blasphemi. We were ready to bolt this to that. But first, we needed to find out the air gap between the diaphragm fingers of our clutch and the face of our throwout bearing, because there has to be a gap there. Here's why. As the clutch wears, these are like a lever, and as it wears, they don't move closer to the engine, they get further away. And when they get further away, eventually they're contacting this so much that your throwout bearing never disengages. And then you're at a stoplight going, whoa, whoa, I'm pushing the clutch in and the car's still going forward. So you have to have an air gap between this and that. And what we're looking for is in the neighborhood of 150 to 200 thousandths of an inch. You can have a little more, you can have a little less, but that's really the best range that I've found. And so we mocked up this McCleod throwout bearing, and we had way too much of a gap. Like we had nearly 3/4 of an inch between here and there. So I called up McCleod, and McCleod said, we have a taller piston for that bearing. And so I believe this here is going to solve our problem. There's that. Yep, that looks taller. And I'm going to guess that this goes in from the back and has O-rings. Yep.
Just a whole bunch of packages. We're going to take that back off.
That needs to come back off. All right. This is one of those. So I'm guessing we take out these 2 bolts and this separates, and then we can somehow get that in there. There's no instructions for this. I've never had one before, so I'm just assuming this is how this goes. There's no area that obviously says jam your screwdriver in here. Okay. But I feel it moving. I feel it moving.
Got an O-ring seal in there.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't just smash the O-ring with my screwdriver. Must be dowel pins in here because it doesn't want to just fall apart.
Spin.
I wonder if I should have marked this. Do me a favor and grab me a Sharpie just in case. Just in case there is an orientation. Whew, okay. Oh, there's a bunch of different positions this can go in. There's that. There's that. And then this one goes like this, and you just choose a set of holes. And alright, and then that bearing goes into here. We use these shims to set the spacing. And so now what we need is a measurement from here, which is where the trans contacts the bell housing, to here. And then we need a measurement from here, where that meets, to the clutch fingers. Subtract one from the other, and as long as we have a gap between 150 and 200 thousandths, we're good to go. And if we don't, then we change these shims out and adjust accordingly. Alright, if you will hold the straight edge, and I believe our bearing is compressed. If you'll hold that. Oh, we gotta compress it.
That's it.
Okay. Alright, we're fully compressed. That is 4 inches, 620 thou. Let's go put that on the whiteboard. Alright. Now, same thing across here. This is 4 inches, 700 thou. Alright, so here's what we're measuring, here's what we're doing. Gap number 1. This is the flange of the bell housing that the transmission mounts to. This is the fingers of the clutch diaphragm. We just took a measurement from here to here. 4 inches, 700 thousandths. Then, we measured the face of the transmission, which would mount to the bell housing of the engine. And then we measured the face of the throwout bearing and got this distance, right? So there's gap number 2, gap number 1, subtract one from the other, and what we're looking for is 150 to 200 thousandths. What we have is 80 thousandths, which means we need to remove one of the shims that are behind our throwout bearing, take one out, that moves the bearing closer to the trans, increasing this gap here, so we can get this gap, which is now at 80 thousandths, to our target of 150 to 200 thousandths. So we'll pull a shim and we'll remeasure. Once we have this set, that means we can barbecue the clutch, and no matter how much material we take off this clutch, and what happens when you wear the clutch out is these diaphragm fingers go out. Even though the clutch disc is getting thinner, this is a lever. So as the clutch disc gets thinner, these don't move closer, these go the other way. They go towards the bearing in the transmission. So we need to make sure this gap between these two surfaces is right here. So we'll pull a shim, and then we should be good to go. Alright, we have 3 shims. Now these are big shims. These look like 125, 150 thou. I'm good, 150. So this might put us at 230, which is a little more than I'd like to see, but we'll double check our measurements. We'll verify. 485 thou. So let's go over here and do more math. So we took a shim out, and we are now at 4 inches, 485 thou. We're at 215. A little more than I'd like. Alright, update. Took some new measurements. We remeasured gap number 1, which is between the high side of the diaphragm fingers of the clutch and the bell housing mounting surface. Then we pulled a shim from over here between the face of the throwout bearing and our transmission. So we increased this gap, we closed up that gap, and if you do the math, that minus that equals 200 thousandths of an inch. What that all really means is we can now bolt our transmission to our bell housing and continue on with the build. Yes!
out they go.
Success?
Success.
All right.
Now, will it come out though?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's go see.
All right, front's out.
Nice.
Hammer.
Always a good sign when you have to cut the torsion bars out of the car.
There we go.
Nice. Yay. Good job. So here's yet another good visual representation of just how screwed up this car is. That's the passenger side torsion bar, which was previously cut, sleeved, and popcorn welded back together. Because I don't know why. Maybe they couldn't get it out.
Maybe it broke.
Who knows? But yeah, this car's kind of a mess. But it's a mess with character, and that's all that really matters in life. Joe cut out the other one because why not? We had to cut one anyway, so Death Wheel got them both out quick like a bunny. This is our Silversport Transmissions Mopar B or E body manual pedal conversion kit. Comes with brake pedal, clutch pedal, brackets to bolt it in. Comes with a new hydraulic master cylinder and reservoir for activating our hydraulic throwout bearing. Not sure what this is, some sort of closeout pedal. I don't know if this is going to go inside the firewall, outside the firewall. I'm guessing outside of the firewall on an angle. I don't know. We'll read the instructions, which are here, and then we'll figure it out as we go. Whew, this thing is rusty. So this was an original automatic transmission equipped car. One of the dead giveaways of that is obviously no clutch pedal, but also the extra wide brake pedal. We need to replace this, and we need to remove it, and everything is rusty, including the hardware here. So I'm just going to take a moment here to put some rust penetrant in every fastener. Old pedal is out. The short shaft is out for automatic car. Here's our new Silversport pedal. We have the nylon bushings in there. We have greased them. We're just going to put that in there for now and let it sit. On the outside of our stock pedal box goes our clutch pedal, which is then braced by this bracket from Silversport. It's powder coated and pretty tight tolerances. The new shaft doesn't even want to go in it because of the powder coat, so I'm just going to clean the hole out a little bit with that deburring tool. I might have to run a reamer through there. There's still some powder coat in the hole, so it doesn't quite want to go. So filing, there we go. Got the powder coat out. All right. So now, what you do is this bracket will bolt on right here with a 5/16 bolt. I don't have the stock bolt, so I'm just going to put this grade 8 one out of my bolt bin. Okay, I'm going to leave that loose for now. I'm going to install the clutch pedal, the shaft, through the clutch pedal, through the pedal box, through the brake pedal, There we go, all the way out the back. And then we'll turn this over and reinstall the factory lock nut, which looks like it's missing the washer. So let me go get a washer real quick while tightening this side down. Boom. We now have aftermarket brake pedal and clutch pedal. Now we have to put the brackets back on this and then reinstall the whole thing back in the car. Just remember how I got this out.
So close.
Yeah.
So very close. Just gotta get that piece past the steering column mount.
So now I'm stuck.
Now you're stuck. Oh, you got the one side for the extra plate for the clutch pedal?
Yeah, I'm just gonna take that off.
And then put it on later?
Yeah, I'll put it on when it's under there and I'm upside down and it's, you know, difficult. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Pedal sliding off?
Yeah.
Oh, so close.
So close.
There it is.
Ah, bingo. Now we need to bolt that to the firewall. Okay. Beautiful.
So Mike has finished installing the pedal assembly inside.
Yes.
And now we're attempting to install the hydraulic clutch master cylinder. There is a factory hole that it can go to that we should be able to mount this through, drill a few holes, and go right in place.
I moved the shifter.
But right now,
Did that help?
I think so. We're in question if the shift rod out here was going to be in the way, but that is going to work perfect right there. That's in park position.
No, that's in like first gear, I think.
Oh, how about what if you put it in the park position?
Okay. That should be park.
It's close, but we'll make it work. This should be pretty close to where our location is, Mike.
Yeah, it looks in the ballpark.
The instructions state that we have to make sure it's like perfectly centered with no side load. Otherwise, it will wear out the master cylinder fairly quickly.
Yeah, it'll screw up the bore and the piston in it.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have the linkage part for me? Let's thread this on. Does it say how long to thread it onto?
Well, I would try and get it so it's kind of close to where I just want to make sure that we don't have like that's going nice and straight. We don't have any side load.
I think it's probably going to work.
Okay. Does it look like it's going to be pretty straight right there? Like a mark and drill some holes?
Bear with me.
Where I'm at?
I want to get it actually connected before I answer that question. Yeah, that's pretty good, dude.
Looking good right there?
It's centered on the hole.
Oops.
Like I would put it right there.
Right there?
Yep. You want to mark it?
I am marking holes. You have your plate over there?
There we go. All right, we're in.
Good.
All right. Clutch pedal engaged. Under the dash stuff is all done.
We'll figure it out.
There's our master cylinder. Now all we got to do is remote mount our reservoir. And once the engine and trans are in, we plumb our hydraulic lines down to our throwout bearing. And then this job is done. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and tighten the bottom. That's a pretty slick setup, man.
All right, and with that, it's nearly official. Let me cross some stuff off here. There is new torsion bars, new brake rotors, new ball joints. None of the steering's been addressed, but technically, if we put the front shocks in, we have front suspension. And if Dave wires the car, we cross off wiring. Disc brake conversion, done. Manual trans conversion, except for one line, is done. Which means before the Roadkill Crew gets here, we really only have to do is pump the front brakes and cut all the brackets off the old rear ends. Like pretty much, we're done here on Finnegan's Garage. It's cocktail time.
Peace out. And it's Friday afternoon.
Yes, yes. Thanks for watching Finnegan's Garage. Appreciate all of you, especially those of you that went to fsmgarage.com and bought the merch. Because as always, you make a bad decision buying clothes means I'll make worse ones with really crappy cars like this fake Daytona.